This is what everybody gets wrong about perspectives and why it seems like you could never win an argument. Let's talk about it. So in an argument or a debate, when there are two parties, let's say a boyfriend and a girlfriend, two friends, or just two people talking about something, everyone has their own perspective, which means, let's say we're talking about this. This is the topic of conversation. This fist here represents the topic of conversation. Whether it's political, it doesn't matter, okay? This is the topic of conversation, or for example, in a relationship, it's probably like a situation that went down between the two of you that both parties or one person wasn't happy about, or they're like, why were you so mean, or why did you do this? It didn't make me feel good, whatever. This is the topic of conversation. This is what you guys are talking about. Now, you've got one person A and person B, and you're both looking at this through your own perspectives, this topic of conversation. And you're both seeing the same thing, but from different places, different perspectives. Now, what everybody gets wrong about perspectives, different perspectives, is people seem to forget that, or people seem to not know that if, let's say boyfriend and a girlfriend, right? Two people in a relationship. The dude probably sees something, a situation, and he, from all the facts, the figures, and experiences, and things that happened, he has first interpreted different things of the situation. And not only is he taking away or key things, key bits of information are in his mind important, he's also interprets them differently. Versus the girl also has noticed different parts of the ball, different parts, and she's also interpreted those different parts differently. And so what people fail to realize is that in an argument, you're never gonna win, because the nature of an argument is that one person is presenting their case, their side, their perspective of the story of what happens, of the topic of discussion. And they're trying to present all the facts and figures that they're focusing on and their interpretation of it. And the other person's like, no. This, and my interpretation about it. What people fail to realize about different perspectives is that, whoa, I almost dropped my phone there, but I am recording. My hand's getting tired. Is that you have to understand that if you were the other person, if you literally had lived your whole life and everything, you would arrive at the same conclusion they have, because you'd literally just be them. But AKA, same thing as saying, if you grew up everything, interpreted everything in their life, and became the person they were, and then went through the same situation, you would interpret it the way they are. So to think that in an argument, which I'm gonna get into why that doesn't work, and why that's always that you're never gonna win an argument, to think that you can just present your side of the story and to think that your side of the story is right. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. Just as convicted you are about your side being the right side, let's use a political, I don't like using political examples, but let's say the left side or the right wing. Just as much as the people on the left wing believe that they're on the right side, on the side that's correct, that sees it clearly. And I mean, I don't have to get into my own beliefs about politics and what side where I lean into or whatever. The other side believes that they're right and they're correct just as much as you do. Now, you may think you see everything better than other people, and that is probably just ego and a bit of narcissism. I would be lying if I didn't think about that, if I said I didn't think like that sometimes, or a lot of times, or most of the times. Yeah. So you have to realize that just as convicted, as convinced you are that you're looking at the ball and the way you see the ball is actually the truth, the reality, and what actually happened, the other person sees it from the other side, and they're also just as convinced. I'm pretty sure I saw it on Instagram with like a ball that it was half white, half black, of that example. So once you realize this, that's what everybody gets wrong, is that I feel like they always forget, like people, they have this lapse in logic. They don't realize that just as convinced as you are that you're correct, that you're on the right side, that your interpretation is correct, that everything, as much as you may believe, you have to understand the other person believes just as much as you do that they're on the right side. So what does that mean? You're both trying to get the other person to see the light at the end of the tunnel, which means you're both trying to get the other person to see your perspective to understand why you're right. And I'll tell you what, if you both saw if you both looked at through each other's perspectives, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's also completely right. And so the key is, and this is why it seems like you can never win an argument, is because if all you're trying to do is present your side of the case, which is what an argument inherently is, because an argument is usually a conversation that goes nowhere and people just present their perspective without trying to get any progression or any outcome of, let's say like what's the word when you like split? Some kind of, anyways, you're not trying to reach an outcome, you're just trying to blabber on your perspective, get the other person to understand, and you feel frustrated the other person's not understanding, and so you're just arguing, because all you're doing is saying your side of the case without even trying to understand the other person's side of the case, and the other person is doing the exact same thing. Now, here's how you can start. First, don't make it an argument, make it a conversation, which means it's a collaborative environment, which means you're both trying to figure out what's actually going on here, looking at both perspectives and understanding each other. Now, the second thing is usually most people aren't going to be thinking like this. All they're going to be thinking is monkey mode in their brain, and they're going to be trying to explain their side of the case and blabber on. And I'm such a victim, is that the right word? Criminal, whatever. I do this all the time. I kind of lie, especially in like family relationships. I'm always just, anyways. So instead of just trying, I was saying that basically most people, they're going to be in monkey mode, and they're just going to do that. They're just going to want, because they want to feel understood. That's human nature. I don't know why it is, but yeah, you can search it up. I don't know if that's actually true. I just believe it. Yeah, sounds about right. Like it feels like it's right that it's human nature to want to feel understood. Anyways, the other person is probably going to be in monkey mode. You need to be more mature. That obviously doesn't feel like the right word. You need to be a little smarter than the other person. You need to be like, okay, it's not going to work if I also just blabber on my perspective. So what you want to do is you want to be able to, people aren't receptive when they don't feel understood. So to make somebody receptive to understand your perspective, if that's really the goal, which maybe it is, but basically the goal should be like to understand their perspective. Now, once you understand their perspective and they feel understood and you can summarize their perspective back to them, they're probably gonna be more receptive to also hearing out your perspective. And then you get a collaborative environment. Now, this is all kind of linked to the book I'm reading, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. If you search up his name, I'm pretty sure you're gonna have seen his face in your Instagram feed before. It's really interesting. So just to summarize real quick, title of the video was what was it? Like what everybody seems to get wrong about different perspectives, which is that the other person is just as convinced as you are that they're correct on this argument or this conversation. And the only way, because everybody's going to interpret the ball, they're going to focus on different parts of the ball. And even if you focus on the same parts of the ball, you're going to interpret that part of the ball differently, if that makes sense. Second part, why you never seem to win any argument, because you're arguing, which means you're just trying to present your side of the case. You're not trying to understand the other person's side, the other person's perspective. Once you can see the other person's perspective and they feel that you've seen their perspective, they will also become more receptive to seeing your perspective. So basically, a lot of people in life, they're just gonna be dumbos. They're just not gonna be that smart. They're not gonna know how to communicate. So make it your responsibility to make your life a little easier by being the more mature person, by being the smarter person, and being like, okay, I will take almost a hit to my ego, in a sense, to go and just look at your perspective, to understand and really ask questions, be trying to understand exactly how you're seeing it, forget about my feelings, forget about all my points, even though they're so valid in my mind, try to just understand you and then try to summarize it back to them so that they feel heard and understood. And then that will make them more receptive to hearing your perspective, and you can have much better conversations and you're gonna see much better outcomes in your conversations. So yeah, hopefully I enjoyed. If anything